Hi everyone, this is Andrea from Ortosonic Lab here in London, and today I want to show you what I did with my ART P16 Xlr Patchbay. So originally this is 16 inputs on one panel and 16 outputs on the rear panel. And this can also be flipped around, so you can have the front panel all outputs or the rear panel all inputs, and vice versa. So I bought this simply because I wanted to access the inputs of my Focusrites without having to go around the rack and fiddle with the cables every time. This Patchbay served that purpose perfectly. I can't complain really, this is a great piece of kit. So since then though, the configuration of my studio has changed slightly. So I would benefit from having inputs and outputs on the same panel rather than, just either inputs or outputs. So I found that you could modify this Patchbay quite easily to get a different configuration. So let me show you how I've done it. So before we start, it's good to point out that there are 78 screws to deal with in order to open this unit, and as soon as you start unscrewing stuff, you're probably gonna void the 3 years warranty. So consider this very carefully before deciding to do this mod. So as you can see, there are 4 screws on the side here to hold the ear, and 3 screws at the top, and 3 screws at the bottom, and every connector is held in place with 2 screws each. Same for the front panel. So you can use a screwdriver. I've used a power drill with a minimum setting to avoid damaging the screws. Remember to separate the screws. There are 3 different types, so keep them separate. Okay, so now I'm gonna take out the screws for all the rear connectors. I've actually done the front earlier. I'm not gonna use the screwdriver because it's gonna take ages. I'm gonna use the power drill. So it's important to make sure that all the screws are removed before attempting to open the unit. It should come apart quite easily. As you can see here, we've got the printed circuit board, so there are no wires involved. The connectors are soldered to the board. I'm aiming to cut the board right there after input 8. So we need to be right in the middle, so it's going to be a bit tricky because there's not a lot of space. So I mark the other side as well. So I need to cut the board in order to split it in 2. So one part is going to be reversed. So to cut it, I'm using a utility knife. So I'm going to have to do quite a few cuts on one side and make quite a visible groove, and then do the same thing on the other side, and hopefully the board will just break apart. And we're gonna do this outside because this board is made out of fiberglass, I think, and by cutting it and filing it, you will release tiny little particles which are very harmful if you breathe them. It's quite tricky to do because of the connectors, they're in the way. So you're gonna have to be very patient. So it didn't feel like it was gonna break apart easily, so I grabbed my hacksaw and made the groove even bigger. So I probably went overboard with the cutting and the sewing, but it was my first time at trying to snap one of these boards, so I really didn't want to risk it. And finally, with a little bit of pressure, this thing snapped in the right place with a clean cut. So now that I've split the board, I'm gonna put it back. So I'm gonna put 1 or 2 screws to hold it in place. So now that I have my first 8 inputs on the front panel, I'm gonna put the other board back, but this time I'll turn it around and I'm gonna have outputs instead. And now that the ears of the rack are back in place, I've got what I wanted, which is 8 inputs and 8 outputs next to each other's. So there you have it, the ART P16 modified. And this has all been tested and works perfectly, so I'm really happy with the mod. If you want to buy this and perhaps do the same thing as I've done to it, I've included a link in the description below where you can get this for a good price. And please subscribe if you want to see more videos and follow my journey. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.